Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eddie Marcus one more time, and this is on a Sunday morning. You have seen me often on the Sunday mornings, at least if you watch the post on YouTube and Facebook. Chances are you haven't. The numbers of clicks that have been made indicates that you have not. Nevertheless, I have a mission to perform, and that is what I am going to perform. Today, the mission that I have been given is to deliver a message from our Heavenly Father God to the President of the United States, Donald Trump, and to the churches of America, and to the people of America. And I want to start off by making a few examples to qualify the presentation. You remember there was a gentleman by the name of Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby was accused of raping a lot of people. Not today, but perhaps yesterday. And as a result of that rape, or rapes as you might want to call them, Bill Cosby is locked up, has been convicted and locked up in jail. Now, Bill Cosby is black. On the other hand, there's a young man by the name of Harvey Weinstein. He's been accused of doing some of the same things, rape, and he is being prosecuted for such action. Now, these two gentlemen represent people all over the nation that have been doing this practice ever since rape has been discovered as being taking and forcing yourself upon a person who prohibits you from doing so. Well, these guys are being charged and prosecuted and serving time. You remember that now. These guys committed a wrong act, an act against the people that did not appreciate it, and they're being punished for it. Well, let's see now. Let's look at this nation. This nation was founded by people abusing another people, treating them inhumanly, murdering them, taking their land. Now, something tells me that there's something wrong with that. If somebody came and took your land, you thought you had some land, somebody came and took it, what would you do about it? Even today, you think you got some land, you don't really own it, you got a piece of paper saying that you're authorized to pay taxes on it, and yet, if somebody came and tried to take it from you, you'd have a fit. Well, the people that started this nation didn't just do that. They took it and murdered and created a system that allowed this kind of continuation to exist even until today. Well, it didn't stop there. They came along and grabbed another group of people and turned them into slaves and abused them as 3/5 human. All of these things happen, ladies and gentlemen, and we talk about here at least 400 years of it. Some people say 401 years of it. And we talk about it being done against the people, and it's just as illegitimate, it's just unconscionable as what Bill Cosby and Weinstein did. However, these gentlemen, these lowlifes, have to pay. But this big system of government, it's too big to have to pay, so they keep on getting away with it. And there are those who have given their lives trying to fight against such an act. People like, in this country, Medgar Evers, people like Dr. King, just to name a few. I don't want to go try to spend my time wasting on names. And they were murdered for standing up. Murdered by whom? The system that took their land, the system that made them slaves, murdered them. And then there were those by the name of, well, I'll just see one here in America, a popular individual by the name of John Lewis, who fought against these things, and he found himself in a position to be a part of the system. And the thing about being a part of a system that can take another's land, treat them as slaves, and give 400 plus years of abuse that we can identify, and it still hasn't changed, then it makes John Lewis a part of that system. See, being a part of the system, which they said, come on in, and be a part, maybe you can make a difference. It's better to stay outside of the system rather than trying to be in the system, because the system is the system. And you either make a system, a new system, or continue the same system you've had. So the message that I bring to the American people is this, ladies and gentlemen. The American people are, it's just unconscionable when I think about it. Think about this notes I had to make. And I got them because I don't want to miss what I'm saying. This is from God to Donald Trump, the American people, and to the church. As U.S. President, champion of a false greatness, you and the country are despicable in God's sight. Let me say this again. From God to Donald Trump, the American people, and to the religious community, the church. As U.S. President, champion of a false greatness, you and the country are despicable in God's sight. Thousands of American lives are lost due to your inability to speak the truth, a reality you have no familiarity with. Pain and sufferings of this nation's people due to a lack of resources provided for, but lost through the evil system of government you represent. God has warned America and the world of its sins against the spirit and will of God expressed in his love for human beings. You and the nation are held accountable for this wretchedness, this wretched nation. You represent 44. Donald Trump, you represent 44 other U.S. presidents that have traveled the same path as you. You do not stand alone, and this is not your battle alone. It is just that you are in the position right now of being that which we can see and identify. But you've been and you are supported by those claiming to know God. Let me say that again. You have been and you are supported by those claiming to know God. Those who walk hand in hand with the system due to a lack of understanding of the Bible and no understanding of God, called the church. Now, can you believe that if you had an understanding of the truth, that you'd be walking in this hell? Anybody, if you had an understanding of this truth, would you be walking in hell? Yes, if you were benefiting from it. But you are warned. Let my people go from your evil plans of power grabbing. Trump, I bring to you this message. God is saying, get your hands, get your knees off the nations of these American people. Get your knee. Donald Trump, get your knee off the neck of the American people. The American people are so under the authority of evil, it seems to them as normal. Alternative truth. You have called the coronavirus 19 the invisible enemy, but it has not conquered the world yet. But evil has many times over conquered the world. So God is saying to you, Donald Trump, and to you politicians, let me add you in there, and my friends, to the church, take your evil hands off God's people. Stop the abuse you are exacting through your military might, sending them to state, talking about what you're going to do. God is watching you, brother. And I declare before you this moment that the message of God is that you take your hands off these American people, or God got a whooping coming for you. You can't run away from, brother. America, the only ones amongst you that know God, that knows the will of God, are the righteous. None but the righteous. Let me repeat that. The only ones amongst you that know God and God's will are the righteous. None but the righteous. All humans are the people of God, and all lives matter. And God prepared that in this date and time, none should suffer for survival. It is evil that is choking their necks, and our God says, stop it. What does that mean? Stop it. This is what it means, ladies and gentlemen. when you were made and prepared. It was so that you could live on this earth. I've said this 1,000 times, and I'm going to say it one more. And what does that mean? That you should survive. Not like wild cats eating out of garbage cans wherever you can find slop, or dogs that just ram all over the place because they're outcast. You were designed, my friends, to live as though you were in heaven. That basically means that every last one of you who would require some survival efforts play a part in it. Every last one of you have been equipped to do a service in the process of creating whatever is necessary. And what we have established for survival basically is food, clothing, shelter, education, and health care. And everything else is just gravy on the top. There is not a human being on the face of the earth that should ever be denied any of these that God has provided for. But all over the earth, it exists. Here in America, it exists. And who speaks against it? A lot of good people speak against it. But for 400 years, it still exists. Why? Because the only thing it takes for evil to prevail is for good people to do nothing but be good. And I know you're afraid to die. Hey, baby, you were born to die. But you got to die for a good cause. And that good cause must be for life. Die for life. Die for love. And you will live forever. Even if they try to build you a big statue. Whether it's of a good representation or whether it's of evil representation. They will build you a statue. And what happens after your body is put in the earth or burned, none of us know. But to a righteous person, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. So, all that God has done, the American system and its government is designed to deny God. And every church organization, black and white, preaches a message that allows that evilness to continue. That evilness to continue. And those churches where you might hear something about it, they are preaching over the pulpit to those people sitting in the pews, trying to get them to do something. Don't they know if you got the message, you are the leader. You're supposed to guide these people, direct these people down the path that they must travel. But you don't want to do that. You want to sit back and get somebody else to do it. The same as these commentators on these news programs. They talk about the problems, always talking about the problems, talking about what the Black Lives Matter movement is doing, talking about how Donald Trump has failed this nation, how evil he is. And they're doing that to move you. They think their jobs are just to talk. But ladies and gentlemen, in the church, talk about God, wonderful God. But your job is to talk. Now, when I say God warned you, I use the example of George Floyd. George Floyd was murdered by the system of government of the United States of America, carried out by the military force as Donald Trump, who represents all of the evilness of America. And what is he threatening to do when people are upset and don't like it and they're speaking out against it? What do you expect the government to do? That evil monster, that Pharaoh, that devil is sending the military to other nations, to other states and cities, talking about beating them and arresting them and how easy it's going to be. That was the knee that was on George Floyd's neck. And all of the people in the streets protesting, all of the people who were writing about it and talking about it, standing up as best they can, being pepper sprayed. These are good people who are fed up with the system, but they're not changing the system. You see, we have a presidential election that's coming up pretty soon, and we have the representative of the evil system through Donald Trump and everybody that's believing in what he stands for. They're sitting there and the nation is just bragging them. Come on, Trump, come on. Others are not saying that. They are trying to go to a different party. The Democratic Party, saying we're going to beat them, we're going to beat them. And you the people who are being taught by the church, you the people who are being taught by the system, you the people who are wrapped up in this thing and being abused, are being led like a cow to the slaughter, knowing that every pain and suffering that you have received in America is under a system of government that has denied God, and you are willing to accept another system that denies God, a continuation of the system, should I say. You're packed up in churches this morning talking about God. You're packed up on radios talking about God, talking about TV, on television talking about God, and yet you're leading the people right down that path of destruction, waiting till October, to November the 3rd, so you can go to the polls and vote for another demon. Yes, God has judged you, and I'm bringing you this little message right here, if you can receive it, to see if you care. And your caring will be by what you do and not what you say. Yes, we know you're afraid. You've been trained to be afraid. You've been indoctrinated to be afraid in every walk of life that exists today. And it only takes an understanding. It takes a God, a real God, to make a difference. And right now, the American God is the system, and its champion is money. And everybody is bowed down to it. Everybody is bowed down to it because they allow people to suffer because they don't have money. They allow people not to have health care because they don't have money. They allow people not to have education because they don't have money, or health care because they don't have money, or food, clothing, and shelter because of a lack of money. That's the demonic system of the world, and the United States is number one in it. You are on your path to hell, Donald Trump, but you're not going to wait until you die to go to hell. This hell that you're starting right now is the hell that you are going to burn in. I have delivered this message to Donald Trump, to the politicians, to the church, and to the American people. You're on a path to hell, fast tracking. But you're alive today, and you got a choice. And exercising that choice does not mean being good. It means being righteous. Thank you.